future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Thank you for tuning in again.
Yes. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Welcome to all of our listeners around this country and around the world. This is another edition of Focus with Ron Frierson. I am Ron Frierson. And to my left here, I got my boy, Mr. Woody Wilson. Say
What's
hi to
up?
the people.
Happy Friday, everybody. How's it going? How was your Memorial Day weekend, folks?
It was too short. It
It
was too
went
short.
back fast, didn't it?
Yeah. So listen, guys. Okay, I put in the promo for this week. I put in a question mark. Do you really believe that President Trump is making America great again? I actually think
deep.
he's moving us in the opposite direction. And there's a fundamental destabilizing force that seems to accompany this man and wherever he goes and whatever he touches. And there may be some people out there who still hold out hope that somehow he's some mad genius that's going to do something that is going to break the mold and turns out to be right about everything. But I don't see it. I really don't see it. So
I think a lot of people don't see it.
Exactly. And so he has a solid 35 to 37% of the population who are going to follow him to the gates of HELL, whoever they are. And they just, I don't know what it is, but there's something about him that they resonate with, and that's that's their guy, and they're going to go with him. So it's something new every week. And I don't see how this could continue for 4 years. There has to be some point where it's something's got to give. It's always something new. This is not a situation where every week I get onto the show and I have to decide because I don't want to say something that's repeating from last week. It's so much new stuff that he's doing from week to week that you find yourself being like, what do we cover? Because so much of it is so important. His budget is important. And if he hadn't done anything so silly between now and then, we would still be talking about his budget and how it's affecting people. But he's done something else. You know, what he did at NATO was so important.
It's literally something every week.
Every week, this dude is doing something that's so destabilizing. Now, if you've been listening to the show for quite some time, you'll notice how I kind of go back a little bit. And there's two of them, but there's one major occurrence that happened in the last 100 years and 70 years, as a matter of fact, and that was World War II. The first World War was, I want to say 1913, 1915 or something like that.
Around that time.
And then less than 20 years later, we ended up going into World War II. So we had World War I, then we had World War II pretty much back to back. After that sort of devastation to Europe and the rest of the globe, all of these nations got together and they said, we're going to have to form these governing bodies to keep us from getting to the brink of something like this again.
United Nations.
The United Nations, NATO, all of these different alliances, and even a lot of the trade agreements, because you're less likely to go to war with someone that you're making money with. So these trade agreements as well, these were strategic things that kept countries at peace, the longest stretch of real world peace.
The most powerful countries at peace.
The most powerful countries at peace, let's say. Now, of course, we had the Korean War and things like that, so we had Vietnam. But in regards to massive war at the global scale, that's been reduced largely because of these institutions. Now countries can go to the United Nations and say as much as they want, but they're talking about it as opposed to picking up guns.
It's like having a parent to go tell on your sibling.
So what's happening is President Trump, he's breaking down those institutions, both domestically and internationally. Domestically, he started breaking down institutions when he was calling into question whether or not our electoral system would be rigged if he lost. It turns out it was, in a way, rigged through propaganda offered by the Russian government. But all of these things are happening, so he's breaking that down. He's talking about our judiciary system, talking about so-called judges if they disagree with him. He was talking about whether or not the former president was even born in the United States.
Yeah, that was a big scandal.
Yeah, he's fundamentally trying to deconstruct the institutions that make us who we are. Then he took his show on the road.
Do you think he's doing this to some advantage? Is there an end game for him?
I don't know if he's a nihilist or he loves anarchy. I'm not sure what it is, but it makes no sense for us to have to deal with stuff like this on a global scale, because now these things that we were dealing with here in America, now they're starting to be spread across the globe.
Yeah.
Now what you're seeing is that you're seeing countries turn inwards, many of them, and also you're seeing our standing as being the pillar, as being the top of civilization in regards to human civilization on the planet. You're seeing our pecking order as a superpower starting to be questioned.
Seemingly so, especially since this Paris climate deal we backed out of.
Okay, yep. So, and that's a great point to segue into that. So, with Paris, okay, 195 countries signed on to the climate accord, and it's non-binding. It's all voluntary, and it's non-binding, meaning that if a country at some point during the process, and I guess it doesn't take effect until like 2025 or something like that, but it's a non-binding agreement. It's an agreement that each country was going to do their part to diminish their emissions of greenhouse gases that affect climate.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why climate change is important. And I wrote a few things down here because a lot of people don't understand how it touches them day by day. And we notice I said climate change and not global warming. Essentially, global warming is what's happening because the Earth's core is warming and the sea temperature is rising. But the reason why I call it climate change is that it offers instability to the climate, not just warming, like we're going to have warm weather forever. In some ways, in some places, they will have warmer than usual weather. But the thing is it's more volatility in weather.
Right. Contributes to the rise of sea levels because the polar ice caps are melting.
Stronger
and so
hurricanes.
Cities on the coast are in danger, more danger.
Place when it does freeze, it's more it's colder weather, hotter weather, it's more volatile weather worldwide. And places wherein the sea levels are rising, and other places it's eroding to a point where it's making populations of people move. And even in California, we had a rainy winter this past winter, which was fantastic. But there's drought in many places on the planet, and there's always been drought for years, but it's been exacerbated because of this global warming that we're undergoing and this climate change. And so you see masses of people moving from areas that was normally farmland, but it can't be farmed anymore. So you have this huge migration of people. It's going to affect real estate. It's going to affect the availability of potable water that people can drink. And you need water to live.
And the air is the biggest thing. It's going to affect the air.
It's affecting the air. And it's affecting the air in those. I don't know if you ever been to China.
Yeah.
I've heard stories about
it's getting
Hong
better,
Kong.
but it's you've got to walk around with a mask on.
Exactly.
And that's how it's going to be around the world if we don't get this under control.
Exactly. So all of these things are going to affect us. And when you have masses of people moving, you see scarcity of resources. Just think about it. When I was a kid, I don't think I just thought about this right now. And when you were a kid too, Woody, did we?
Still a kid.
Yeah. Did we have to buy bottled water?
No, I don't think bottled water existed. Our milk used to get delivered. I remember that.
Yeah. We now buy water. I don't think people quite understand how significant that is. So all the way up until whatever 1980 we would drink out of a faucet, and now we are buying something that, and it's become normal to us for two reasons. For one, that means that we've been conditioned to know that in many cases the water that comes out of our faucets may not be suitable to drink.
Yeah, i.e. Flint, Michigan.
And why? Just think about it. We buy water now. Something that was for my parents, our parents, our grandparents, all the way down.
And we might have to buy air one day.
Isn't that crazy?
For your home. You may have to get a big container of air and hook it up to the inside ventilation of your home. This is a serious deal, climate change and our footprint that we have on the world in terms of spewing gases into the atmosphere. I think every scientist, the brightest scientists across the world agree that the climate is changing. And we see storms that are larger and more effective than ever before in history. The average temperature has risen over the last 3 years by a point. But that's pretty significant when you talk about the polar caps and the ice melting and the water, which creates more mosquitoes, which feeds a certain variety of bats, which increases their population. I mean, the effects are ongoing. I mean, the rays that come from the sun we're protected by the solar caps, and all the ultraviolet light protects us.
And remember, water is
used.
So
it's so large.
Exactly. And water is used in the manufacturing process as well. So there are industrial uses for water. Now, the most important is for us to drink.
Air, I guess.
But in regards to how it affects our economy, water is used, we all have cell phones, okay? And many of us have computers. And so the way your data and stuff is stored in data centers, the cloud, so to speak, is not a real cloud up in the sky. It's actually server farms and computer farms that they have with all these servers into a building, and these huge supercomputers, these servers, transmit data and store data for all of us, so that you can go into your Gmail account and pull something down off the so-called cloud, or if you want to get
never goes away.
It never goes away because it's
all you want to. Yeah.
Well, what you don't know is that these data centers, many of them are kept cool with water. They use water to run through there to keep it cool. Water is used in the manufacturing process. If you have cars being built, the way they cool down the molten lava, or whatever, not the molten lava, but the iron ore and things that's used to build the frame, lots of times they flush water in there to cool it down. Water is used in everything. And so now,
not to mention our bodies.
Exactly. And remember, it was actually General Motors that kind of brought to the public the fact that the water in Flint was going bad, because that water in Flint that they were using in their manufacturing process, it started corroding their parts. So they started to dissolve their parts, and so they went to the city and said, listen, we can't use Flint water anymore because your water that we're using on these steel parts are starting to corrode our parts, so we can't use it.
Killing our people and corroding our parts.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's a lot going on. It's a whole lot
So
going
listen,
on.
but this Paris climate deal, right? I understand, I can understand Trump wanting to negotiate or renegotiate deals. And I think that's a great idea. I think we are, we step first and then everyone follows. So, I mean, we did dedicate, I think, over $1 billion to this climate deal. We put up, $300 million or something of that nature to get it started. Maybe we do need to look at that in terms of the money because I find it very upsetting to commit to $1 billion in this example, but we can't take that money to the inner cities and fix the schools and fix the inner cities and provide programs for kids who are lost. I think in that regard, if that was his message, I want to redirect that funds to help the inner city and make America great again. I like that message. But he's not really stating. Well, he did make a statement.
Well, the disagreement that we have right there.
But I think that's backwards in terms of investments.
Yeah. Well, this is why I disagree with that. For one, this was already something wherein if it started, it was a non-binding agreement. Okay. That each country would do it. So since it's non-binding, that means if it was something we needed to tweak, we could tweak it without getting out of it altogether. Also, you can't get back in it. France.
Oh, you don't think they'll let us back in?
No, they've already said once you're out, you're out. This was the agreement, or because they said that's what's called moral hazard, because now you will have other countries that agreed to do the deal. Now because America said they want to get out and get back in, you're going to have other countries that made the same sort of commitment. Now they're going to say, okay, I'm going to get out and get back in. Why can't I do it? You let the United States do it. So all of these things, these are things that he should have thought about before he did it. That's why you have Republicans and
sure
Democrats.
He knew the repercussions. He didn't care.
Maybe he knew, maybe he didn't. Or maybe
I didn't know the
didn't
repercussions, but now that you explained it.
Yeah.
But so so everyone's just going to have to move on. We're not in the deal. Let's move on. What's next?
Well, that's the scary part.
I mean, we're disappointed.
That's the scary part. What is next? So, because this is important. This is why this is important. When you leave something alone and you're the superpower, you're creating a vacuum. Somebody's going to step into that vacuum. So, what's happened since this happened? China has said they're going to assume a greater cause for it. China is stepping into voids, and that may seem good. But it's not.
There are
good.
leadership voids, and they will
be
perceived as the leader.
They
of the
will
world.
not only be perceived. Right now, they are nipping at the thing that we have going for them is the thing that is actually a positive for them and a negative at the same time, and it's that they have 1 billion plus people there. So if China, with 1 billion plus people, they have the second largest economy in the world. Now, if their economy continues to grow and it gets to a point wherein they could sustain having 1 billion plus people. See, because right now, even though they have the biggest economy and the second largest economy in the world, it's 1 billion plus of them. So they still have a whole lot of room for growth, and they still have a lot of people that are stuck in poverty because it's just so many people. That's why they have to grow at double digits every year in order for them to keep up with their population. So if that's being said, they have all these resources. They have the second largest economy. The things that President Trump is doing in regards to isolating us and things of that sort, that's not going to bode well for our allies, for our trading partners. So now those things like TPP, China is stepping into it. So all these countries will start to trade with China as opposed to us.
The United States.
And that will make us lose a lot of our ground on the world stage. Also, it's something about being the leader. If you as the leader, they were saying that President Obama was leading from behind. That makes absolutely no sense. If you as the leader, if you set forth the goal and said, listen,
and that's another thing. President Obama had he held back pushing the button or signing on the dotted line on a lot of agreements or a lot of international issues. You drew the line in the sand with Syria, for example, didn't push forward with war. They said he wasn't stepping up as a leader. I mean, if you just look at those small iconic steps that will go down in the history with his presidency, and compare them to what's going on with Donald Trump. There are no comparisons in terms of,
I don't.
America falling out of leadership role, as you're stating. I mean, there's no comparison. That the rest of the country, the rest of the world did not look at us in that eye.
Yeah, the rest of the world, for the most part, are looking at us like with a quizzical look, like, who the hell did they put in
Why did you guys
office?
elect him, number one?
Exactly. Now, also, and they can also see that he has the ego of a 500-pound giant, but in many respects, he's ignorant in regards to the consequences of some of the things that he's doing. I don't think we understand
he's
how
being
significant.
ill-advised.
Not just ill-advised, but even if you're advised, a president will have all of his closest people around him, including his cabinet, and they will throw him advice all day. You ought to do this, you ought to do that, you ought to do this. And he has to have within him to say, no, this is what I'm going to do. Where he'll listen to one person, not listen or combine the two, but he has to make the final decision. And it can't be the decision of whoever was the last person he spoke with. I want to play a couple of things for you. Number one is going to be in German. This is going to be Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, and there are going to be subtitles, and I'm going to kind of tell you guys the gist of what she was saying after this. So play the Angela Merkel video for me, please, Jarvis.
Und die Zeiten, in denen wir uns auf andere völlig verlassen konnten, die sind ein Stück vorbei. Das habe ich in den letzten Tagen erlebt. Und deshalb kann ich nur sagen, wir Europäer müssen unser Schicksal wirklich in unsere eigene Hand nehmen. Natürlich in Freundschaft mit den Vereinigten Staaten von Amerika, in Freundschaft mit Großbritannien, in guter Nachbarschaft, wo immer das geht, auch mit Russland, auch mit anderen Ländern. Aber wir müssen wissen, wir müssen selber für unsere Zukunft kämpfen, als Europäer, für unser Schicksal. Und das will ich gerne mit Ihnen gemeinsam tun.
Okay. Essentially, what she was saying, for those people who couldn't see the subtitles on the screen, for the people who are only listening, she is basically saying that Germany and Europe has to take their fate into their own hands and not depend on the United States, their allies. She was, smart to put in their allies and their friends, the United States or Great Britain. So this is why this is significant. since World War II, for the most part, we've been covering Germany militarily because of what happened. We were at war with Germany in
Right.
World War II. When you start to pull back and countries become isolated again and they start to take care of themselves, so to speak, what starts with trade, what starts with diplomacy, turning inward, that also goes to, next thing you know, it could be the next step where we want to develop our own military. When you have a lot of militaries being formed, anything could go. Anything could happen. When President Trump, during the campaign, when he hinted that maybe Japan ought to start taking care of their own defense and developing their own nuclear weapons so they can defend themselves against China, do you remember what we did to Japan in World War II? Do you have any clue? Now, just because we're cool with Japan now doesn't mean that we're going to always be cool with Japan, especially if they vote somebody in the office anywhere akin to what Trump is. So picture if Japan had their own democratic elections and they came up with another leader who's a firebrand like Trump.
You say they might invoke revenge on us?
If it came down to it, I guarantee you, if it came down to it, wherein we're at the Cuban Missile Crisis, where you have two nuclear powers going at it and they show some restraint. That one nuclear power, which is an ancient culture like Japan, they will remember that it was us who bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Man.
And you think they would hesitate? Now, that wouldn't happen because, God forbid, we ever got to that point again.
Right there.
But whenever you start to make countries look inward, become isolationists, and not be cooperative, and they have to look to themselves, have Europe looking to itself, all these small countries in Europe starting to look inward to themselves and not to look at America like they're the leader. These vacuums are significant.
Do you think that Trump is doing this to erase Obama's legacy as much as possible? You think that's part of the Republican agenda?
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if some of the people that still follow Trump now do so for tribal reasons. And those tribal reasons have to do with some sort of racial animus against the former President Barack Obama. Some of those people may even still be stupid enough to think that President Obama was born in Kenya. Some of those people may still be stupid enough. Yeah, some of these people may be so blind and stupid enough that they will still argue about President Obama having his mother-in-law take care of his kids as the official nanny in the White House and getting paid a small stipend for it and getting paid for it, but not say anything about the fact that President Trump has his son-in-law and his daughter running cabinet positions. They weren't even nominated by Congress. They weren't even approved by anyone but him, and now they have no policy speech on various issues.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense to me, but they won't see that.
No.
They won't see the fact that if President Obama went overseas and made an ass of himself the way that Trump did, pushing another world leader.
We'd still be talking about it.
Pushing another world leader. If President Obama went over to Saudi Arabia and was hugging up with the Saudis after 15 of the 17 hijackers in 9/11 were Saudi Arabian, and then President Obama went over there, hugged up with them, telling them how great they were. They would not, but they don't see that because it's like they purposefully put blinders on and didn't want to say anything about it.
I just want to get back to running the country. I want to get back to correcting taxes, fixing Obamacare, making America great. You ran on that. I'm not really sure what he's doing, what his objective is right now. He's not making America great. He's trying to make his contingency of supporters great or richer. I don't think he's looking at the world from a United States from a global perspective, from the future, the understanding of how technology has taken jobs and they're not coming back. Incidentally, the employment number is down to 4.3%.
That's true.
So people are back to work, but they're not back to work at the same jobs with the same income as they had prior to the worldwide financial crisis. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, but that's something, usually, and this is where I'm going to be consistent, and I try to remain consistent. When the unemployment rate was dropping under President Obama's administration, what the Republicans would say is that they would say, well, that's just because a lot of people fell out of the workforce and they're not reporting it anymore. So it's
the same rules and regulations with Trump.
Yeah, I'm saying I've heard that same argument in regards to the new 4.3% unemployment rate. I heard the same thing, but I'm still going to remain consistent and say that doesn't matter. 4.3 is 4.3, and we ought to just take that, even though, yes, of course, maybe some people fall out of the workforce, but it's still a good thing to have.
Well, Obama set up the train and pushed it downhill. He just jumped in as it was cool.
And a lot of this is, especially with the soaring market and things of that sort, there's a lot of things, a lot of money that's been pumped into the system through the Fed. We also have the globe is doing a lot, and especially in the United States. There's a lot of money that comes into the United States from offshore, and from a lot of Russian monies in the United States. That's irrespective of Trump. A lot of Chinese monies in the United States. The reason why their money comes here is because in their countries, in Russia, Putin runs everything, and the government can seize your assets at any time. So a lot of people with money, they park it over here because they know that Putin, and it's harder for the Russian government to seize it if it's here. And with China, it's a communist country, so the state again can seize an individual or a company's assets in China and claim it as their own.
And who would not want to be in America?
And so they put it here.
So it makes sense for them to put it here
because this is safe. This is safe.
It's safe. I mean, half of downtown LA is owned by Chinese at this point.
Chinese
skyscrapers. The biggest skyscraper that's going up right now, I think, is Korean.
Korean Air. Yeah, they're putting their buildings in LA. There's a lot of P3s going on out here. A lot of private money from sovereign entities that have come in, different governments, Saudis and stuff that are being poured in the United States that we may not even know about.
Right.
But the reason they put it over here is because it's a safe bet for it to be here. We need to take a commercial break. We're past due for this commercial break. Let's do that, and we'll be back with more at the end of this.
I wish I had that cash right there to pay those bills.
I'm Dr. Yates. I'm a hair transplant surgeon. When people come to see me, they have a problem. They've lost a lot of hair and they want their hair back. We have our own line of hair products, and I think it's a real winner. The way we start is with Mega Biotin. Number 2, edge control. It prevents breakage and holds the edges down. Apple cider vinegar shampoo. It adds body, it adds shine, and it also reduces inflammation. Depending on if your hair is hydrating, if your hair is thin, you use the thickening shampoo. Then we have our secret sauce, argan oil. With that, we have what's called Miracle Blowout. The Sheen Spray is basically kind of a permutation of the argan oil. It just adds a finishing touch to the hair. And finally, the Dynamic Duo, Keratin Fibers. This makes your hair look thicker instantaneously. This doesn't come out in the wind, doesn't come out in the rain. We can guarantee this will help your hair and keep you from coming to see me about hair loss.
Zhivago timepieces are luxury watches for both women and men. Designs for women are inspired by classic femininity while maintaining their contemporary style. Designs for men blend classic elegance and sporty versatility. All timepieces remain true to the Zhivago lifestyle, including their glamorous presentation, which is a nod to the famous Parisian fragrance that started it all. Zhivago timepieces transcend the ages, recalling life's most treasured moments. Let Zhivago inspire you.
Visit www.zhivagowatches.com or shop Zhivago Watches on Amazon.
Where does your favorite restaurant get its bread? Do they make it themselves? If not, make sure your favorite restaurant uses Artisan Crust Bakery for all their baked goods. 100% natural, 100% fresh, 100% delicious.
Flowers are nature's expression of love and appreciation. There is no better way to show your love and appreciation than with these beautifully intricate arrangements by Designs by David. Designs by David will deliver beautiful arrangements to you for any occasion, in any city and state around the world. Love and appreciation should be expressed every day. Express it with Designs by David today. Mention Focus with Ron Frierson for a discount.
Back.
Yes. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. So to sew up this really quick on the whole climate change thing, I want to just kind of point out that the only 97% of climate scientists believe that this is a actual occurrence. And those 3%, I don't know where they get them. They probably, scientists that were commissioned by ExxonMobil or something.
They got the degree online.
Exactly. And then on top of that, if you look at Congress, the vast majority of the the congressional delegates, either Senate or in the House, that deny climate science is a contradiction, or it's a, I should say it's a coincidence. I should say it's a coincidence in the fact that the vast majority come from oil-producing states. They come from
what a coinkydink. I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
Texas, Oklahoma, West Virginia. I mean, we're not putting two and two together. That makes no sense. I mean, it's obvious that they have an agenda behind it.
And I think people who are smart, the average person, knows that climate is being affected and the reasons why, right?
Yeah.
Emissions, right? Which is why we started with emissions on our vehicles. We have to every car has to go through an emissions process. Volkswagen lied about their emissions, put some type of computer in there to make the emissions tests fall under the scale it needed to fall under, and they got sued for $10 billion or something crazy.
Crazy.
But so the automobile industry understands, manufacturing industries understand. I mean, it's just so plain and simple. It doesn't take rocket scientists. Here are the facts. The vice president, Bill Clinton's vice president, Al Gore, 16 years ago was talking about climate change, right? And he had a story, a documentary called The Naked Truth or something.
Something like that.
Something like that. But so it's been an issue for a very long time, and the facts continue to compile. And I just don't understand why anyone in government would say this is a non-issue and we don't need to save the world, save our planet. We are destroying our planet. We're the most destructive animals on the planet.
The 195 countries, there are only now 3 countries that pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord.
Or never signed up.
Yeah, or pulled out or didn't sign up. Yeah. So we pulled out. United States is one of the 3. The other 2 are Syria, and we all know what's going on in Syria.
Right?
And the third one is Nicaragua. And the reason why Nicaragua didn't sign up is because they didn't think it was stringent enough. So Nicaragua didn't think the standards that we were pushing for were stringent enough, so they didn't sign on to it. They needed stricter limits. Syria is in chaos, and now we have the United States joining that group. That makes absolutely no sense. So anyway, hopefully we'll find something with a Russian tie or something that we can get Trump out of office. I still don't think he'll be impeached. Well, I think he can be impeached, but I don't think he'll be removed from office. For those of us that are old enough to understand or to remember, Bill Clinton was impeached, but he wasn't removed from office. So
this is it's too early to tell whether it's going to be impeached or removed from office or he'll resign. I mean, we'll have to see what the facts are.
Yeah, there's a chance he could resign, but the reason
now they're investigating the Obama administration.
For what?
They've got the when the subpoenas, not subpoenas, but what do they call it, Jarvis? When they just they get 7, they subpoena 7 officials, 4 of which were the Obama administration.
For what?
They want to see what rules and regulations they broke in regards to
leaking classified evidence.
Exactly, leaking classified evidence.
Yeah, so they're just trying to find something because they're going to blame everything.
Well, yeah, but that's they've got to testify before Congress now.
Yeah, okay. Well, they can go back forever. There's always been leaks in Washington. There's forever been leaks. And how do you think we found out that Bill Clinton was sleeping with Monica Lewinsky? Someone leaked it. It got out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did Whitewater get their stuff? They always had leaks. But I was going to say this, is that the thing with President Trump and everything that's going on with him, I think that because we're so polarized, and the Republicans and Democrats are almost like the Crips and the Bloods. They are gangs. And so I don't think that they would allow President Trump to be removed from office, even though he may be impeached, just because I think they are so tribal now that they would say, okay, if he's impeached and removed from office after Pence would be easier to beat, in a reelection. And why would we want to give up the presidency for I don't know how many foreseen years because we allowed this Republican president to be removed from office? It's like a stain. This would be the second Republican president to be removed from office, which would be Richard Nixon was the first, and then you have Donald Trump. So I think they will probably try to give him a slap on the wrist, impeach him but not remove him from office, give him what's called censured, which is what they did to Bill Clinton, just kind of give him a tongue lashing where you shouldn't do this and say bad stuff about him, but let him stay in office and be a weakened president.
Yeah, I mean, is all of this worth that? I mean, we're spending a lot of money trying to find out what's going on with this Russia connection.
Well,
and whatever else is going on. I think it's got to be, if it's just a slap on the hand, then this is all a waste of time.
I don't know. I think that the Democrats will want to get him out of office, of course, but I just don't foresee the Republicans, just because they have the House and the Senate. I just don't see all of them saying man for man 2/3 majority, let's remove him from office. I think that some of them will toe the party line and say, no, he's one of us, he's a Republican, we're not going to remove him from office. You know, us telling him that this was wrong is going to be enough, and they impeach him but not remove him from office. I just believe that's what will happen. I may be wrong, but that's what I think. But and it all depends. You know, if it comes out that he had hands-on knowledge of all this stuff, then maybe he'll get, you know, people that were normally always pro-Trump to finally turn their back on him.
And there's a chance that he could block Comey's testimony.
Well,
he's got the authority to do that.
Well, I think he did if Comey was still a federal employee. But I don't think, since he's not his boss anymore, I think that Comey, and I'm sure it'll come out, but I think that Comey can do it as a private citizen, and he can't keep him as a private citizen from testifying before Congress. But he could if Comey was still a federal employee. And that's what I've heard, and I think that's the case. But we'll see. But next Thursday, that's when Comey is supposed to go and testify before Congress. I don't even think that the testimony that he gives to Congress is going to be super eye-opening, because it's an ongoing investigation. And I'm sure he's going to be careful not to say anything that may impede the investigation. And who knows what's going to come up. I think there may be a lot to it. That Jared Kushner, his son-in-law,
mm-hmm.
I wonder if this is stuff that Jared just did in being naive.
On the day-to-day. Well, I mean, technically, if he was involved with the Russians doing business, he is not running for office. He hasn't done anything, you know, that he could be liable for. Now, if somehow he mixed that into the, you know, with Trump and them running for office, then there's smoke and fire there.
Well, then this is where things will come up. Why would he be doing business with someone who was put on a list of he was already on the watch list, and a person that we were banned from doing business with because he got caught up in some other Russian stuff. And I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it was that, but he was already on the list of like a banned business person that Americans can't do business with. So if that's the case,
but we do business with them.
I don't think we can do business with that certain Russian. American companies can't do business with them right now.
Okay.
And then for two, this was still after President Trump won the presidency. So he's going to take office in January, and I think one of the meetings was in November or December. Why would you be meeting him, a guy that's on being under scrutiny by a government for all types of stuff, and then knowing about the whole Russian deal, because they were talking about this before the inauguration, and you still go and meet with him? So why would you meet with him for business? And then what I'm more concerned about is Jared Kushner carrying water for the president, or is he doing this on his own? Meaning, is the president using Jared Kushner to relay his messages and what he wants to do and have plausible deniability by having that separation with, basically his messenger boy? Or is it Jared Kushner just going out on his own, calling everybody on his own?
Well, I think he's his own man, Jared Kushner. So
I'm sure he's his own man, but at the same time.
So I'm thinking he's making these contacts on his own, initially. And then once the fervor of the potential president that Trump could potentially become president, those conversations started shifting. And I think that's where the gray area is.
Well, even if he was on his own man, that shows a real lack of understanding. If you as your own man want to go and do business with of all people, a Russian oligarch who's currently under scrutiny by the United States government and choose to go and do business with this guy, knowing that your father-in-law is about to take the office of the presidency. That's, if he's his own man doing that, that's a stupid thing for somebody who's their own man to do.
And that's why they're investigating, because he may have done something very stupid in that regard.
Yeah, I just think that there's too much. And I understand you know, you kind of giving him some plausible deniability, and you're trying to kind of give him some.
No, I'm just simply saying that, you know, it makes sense to me that there would be a connection if, in fact, he's got some Russian, business dealings or whatever he was doing talking to the Russians, which has been identified that he has, in fact, been talking to some Russian officials, you know, working on his own, you know, business plan of whatever it was. And then later, when this race became closer, like I said, the conversation started shifting. Without understanding the gray areas, because he's not a politician.
But that's still assuming that he was just talking to him just during the campaign. There were
prior
meetings,
to the campaign.
Yeah, but there were also meetings with them after Donald Trump won the election, and between the election and the inauguration, those were some of the meetings that took place. So if you know that your father-in-law is about to become the president of the United States because he just won the election, and then you're asking for back channels of communication, that's basically you just trying to be sneaky. You need some back channels of communication, and you're using Russian intelligence sources to give you that back channel, not American security sources. So that means you're being sneaky, and you're being sneaky with the quote-unquote enemy, this foreign government, so they can set up the communication lines. That makes no sense unless it's something nefarious is going on. So it's really no way to explain yourself out of that. So if Jared Kushner went to the American intelligence services, said, listen, we're going to set up back channels to talk to the Russians because we need better cooperation and better relationship with the Russians. And they said, okay, this is how we're going to do it. But if you don't tell the American intelligence sources, and then on top of that, you go to Russian intelligence sources and say, we're going to use your mechanisms to set up this back channel of communication, and your father-in-law is about to become president. And by that time, there had already been, because remember, President Obama told President Putin at that time, and they met at some sort of G7 or G8 conference, and he told him, don't meddle in our elections. And he kind of sternly told Vladimir Putin this. So they knew that there was Russian meddling in our electoral process, number one. So Jared Kushner and the Trumps knew that because he was dealing with that stuff the entire campaign, saying that the Russians. So if it's and then also you got to think about it. Why are all these roads leading to Russia? They're not leading to any other country but Russia. They're not leading to Australia. They're not leading to Great Britain. It's too many ties within his inner circle with Russia, either his son-in-law, either his campaign manager, even his old attorney. I mean, it's too many people dealing with this one country.
Right, which is why it was giving them a reason to investigate. You know, so I can't wait till they find out what's going on so we can get to the end of this and move on and talk about real policy and heal the country and make us.
I don't think that's going to happen. But let's take another commercial break, and then we'll come back and finish up the show.
Hi, I'm Dr. Yates. I'm a hair transplant surgeon. When people come to see me, they have a problem. They've lost a lot of hair and they want their hair back. We have our own line of hair products, and I think it's a real winner. The way we start is with Mega Biotin. Number 2, edge control. It prevents breakage and holds the edges down. Apple cider vinegar shampoo. It adds body, it adds shine, and it also reduces inflammation. Depending on if your hair is dry, you want to use hydrating. If your hair is thin, you use the thickening shampoo. Then we have our secret sauce, argan oil. With that, we have what's called Miracle Blowout. The Sheen Spray is basically kind of a permutation of the argan oil. It just adds a finishing touch to the hair. And finally, the Dynamic Duo, Keratin Fibers. This makes your hair look thicker instantaneously. This doesn't come out in the wind, doesn't come out in the rain. We can guarantee this will help your hair and keep you from coming to see me about hair loss.
Zhivago timepieces are luxury watches for both women and men. Designs for women are inspired by classic femininity while maintaining their contemporary style. Designs for men blend classic elegance and sporty versatility. All timepieces remain true to the Zhivago lifestyle, including their glamorous presentation, which is a nod to the famous Parisian fragrance that started it all. Zhivago timepieces transcend the ages, recalling life's most treasured moments. Let Zhivago inspire you.
Visit www.zhivagowatches.com or shop Zhivago Watches on Amazon.
Flowers are nature's expression of love and appreciation. There is no better way to show your love and appreciation than with these beautifully intricate arrangements by Designs by David. Designs by David will deliver beautiful arrangements to you for any occasion, in any city and state around the world. Love and appreciation should be expressed every day. Express it with Designs by David today. Mention Focus with Ron Frierson for a discount.
Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. So one of the things that we were talking about, we have everything that's Trump, and I got to tell you again, this is crazy. And maybe it's crazier to me. I have all this gray hair for a reason. I'm an old soul, and I've always loved history. And my dad would tell you, he used to watch the History Channel and 60 Minutes and all that type of stuff. Always loved it, and so I kind of can recognize the significance of everything that's going on. And a lot of my friends, they like jumped on the Trump bandwagon because they thought that, he was going to be better for Israel than Barack Obama, and Barack Obama was excellent for Israel. He did not get along with Bibi Netanyahu, not by any means, but he provided more military aid and more funding to Israel than any president in American history. But that goes unchecked because we listen to Fox News and they make it seem as if because him and Bibi didn't get along that somehow he was anti-Israel, and he so was not. Barack Obama was very pro-Israel in policy, which is what matters. The reason I say this is because Trump talks about being pro-Israel, but he's dangerous for Israel. For one, he was saying that he was going to put the American embassy in Jerusalem. He didn't. He decided not to now. So he recanted on that. So the people that got excited that he was going to do that, that's another psych move. He didn't do that. Secondly, for us to protect our most vital and critical ally in the Middle East, we need to be strong. Trump is making us weak. He's making everyone turn away from us, our allies turn away from us. And we can't be out there on an island and protect the countries that we need to protect as we grow weaker. Israel needs for us to be strong in order to protect them. And Trump is making us weaker, thus putting us and Israel in further danger. And I wish a lot of people would recognize that. But I kind of want to change up a little bit. I think we haven't done Word to the Mother in a long time, Woody.
No, we haven't done Word to the Mother in a long time.
I was thinking about that last week because, again, we have so much stuff going on, that it's hard to keep up because there's something that's new every week. Every week is something new.
Yes.
And it can give you a headache, listening to all this stuff that Trump is doing. He can literally give you a headache, and I don't know how much longer.
He's not going to give me a headache.
Yeah, so I figured we ought to switch it up a little bit and do a little Word to Your Mother. Yeah.
Yes. It's me harmonizing along. Sorry, Johnny, I just tore that up, didn't I?
You did do that.
So anyway, so for those of you that don't know the game, Word to Your Mother, I've got 5 vocabulary words here. Ron prides himself on being a wordsmith, so I'm going to kick these words to him. He's going to give me the definition of the word, and we have, if he gets the word correct, Jarvis is going to be. That's if he gets it wrong.
Why you got to start off with the negative? You should have started off with the positive.
Because he knows you're about to get this wrong.
All right, let me get my head.
All right, so get warmed up.
Okay.
Get that neck loose.
Yeah, get my
me. Sing a couple of bars. Those of you at home, play along. See if you can come up with this word.
Okay. I got to write down the words, unless your pronunciation.
Do you want me to spell the word for you?
You got to say it and spell it. That's part of the entertainment value. Hearing your retarded ass try to pronounce something.
Ooh, now I'm retarded. Watch yourself. I'm gonna mix this up a little bit. All right, you ready? Here we go.
Let's do it.
Turpitude. Turpitude. That's an easy one.
Is it easy?
Yeah, it's easy. Turpitude. What does turpitude mean?
isn't like a bad act, like something that's corrupt or something like that.
That is correct. You are correct,
Word
sir.
to your mother.
Word to your mother.
I love that.
Next word, pugnacious.
Oh, that's pugnacious. That's like.
Do you want me to spell that, or you don't?
I know what pugnacious
Can I
is.
spell it for the people online? Pugnacious. Pugnacious.
It's almost like a. I don't want to sound sexist, but it's almost like a scorned woman.
Yeah.
Like she's tough, but she's tough
that girl's
because
pugnacious, man.
because of experiences she's been through.
Yeah.
Dealing with some jerks.
Like a callus.
Exactly.
But I don't know why you had to pick a woman.
Word to
though.
your mother.
I had nothing to do with that, ladies of America. Superfluous. SUPER.
Superfluous is doing too much. It's doing too much. It's like
FLUOUS.
exceeding. It's doing too much. It's
You're doing too much right
I need
now.
to start explaining and giving these definitions in a more precise manner.
But that's good.
But
Exceeding
yes,
what is sufficient or necessary.
yeah, it's doing too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah.
Word to your mother.
Have someone referred to you as superfluous before?
Yeah, I'm doing too much. Not really. I need to do more. I'm kind of chill, kind of laid back.
All right.
So
Extol. EXTOL.
that's to praise. That's to give homage to
utmost.
extol praises.
Yes. To revere.
Exactly.
Like my mom.
Word to your mother.
That's what's
Extol
up right
your
there.
mama. Extol you,
That's
mama.
right.
Okay. FURTIVE. 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 Are you going to get all these right today? That'd be a first, huh, Jarvis? First in a long time. He's on a roll. Ladies and gentlemen, furtive. I'm going to start ticking down. You got 5 seconds.
Give me 10 seconds.
7.
Furtive.
6.
FURTIV.
Yep.
Furtive.
Furtive. It's not fertile.
I don't. Nah. What's it mean?
Secretive or sly.
Secretive or sly. Nah, I don't know. It's furtive. Okay, I want to add that to
Those furtive views.
I'm trying to. Sometimes you can think of stuff that's used in sentences that you've heard. I don't think I've ever heard that word being
Used in a sentence?
No, furtive.
Yeah.
How many did I get right?
I had this girl told me I was furtive. You all furtive and stuff?
Really?
Yeah.
For,
I didn't know what she meant. I had to look in the dictionary. So wait a second. I'll be right back.
How many did I get right?
4 out of 5.
That's pretty good. I passed.
That's pretty good. Good job.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Word to your mother.
Yeah. So
I do not have a
I'm glad we
singing
did
career.
that. Furtive.
Yeah.
Okay,
furtive.
I'm going to be looking. I bet you what's going to happen now is that I want to hear that word a lot more. You know how like when you get a certain car,
Yeah.
then you notice everybody else on the street that has the same kind of car you have is going to be like that.
Yep.
So, furtive. Okay, my boy John Michelle Herman. John Michelle is in Philippines. Hey, John Michelle, I hope everything is good for you over there in Philippines,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Miss you,
They
my
had,
brother.
something go down in Manila.
Hey, yeah.
Was that terrorist activity?
No,
that
it wasn't.
shooting?
It wasn't. It was a
Some dude-
botched robbery at
Okay.
a casino, and
Okay.
everyone, of course, jumped to terrorism. But understand. But then again, it could be because you can never trust that Filipino president. That dude is crazy. Jean Michel, you be careful over there. Mon frere, be careful. So, you know, we have a lot of listeners and viewers in other countries.
Yeah, Australia,
In
Philippines.
Australia, Jean Michel, Philippines,
England.
Belgium, Great Britain.
Yes,
Abu Dhabi. We have a lot
Yes.
of people listening all over the place.
absolutely.
Yeah, so and we're glad you guys listen. But even though you guys are way over there in Australia, you still need to buy some Dr. Yates hair science products.
That's
okay?
right.
He ships international as well.
Internationally,
Yeah.
especially if stuff's falling out.
So what do you think Trump is going to do next week? What put up your crystal ball? Give me
You know what? I think he's just going to straight slap somebody.
he gonna slap somebody.
He pushed that dude out of the way last week, 2 weeks
That's
ago.
crazy.
I think he's just going to
That's
slap
crazy.
somebody.
You think
in
he'll
the
slap
face.
somebody? I
Yeah.
think he go pee on himself. I do. He just looked like he ready to pee on himself, and he just go look straight in the camera and just like say what? And
You know,
just,
I don't know. I'm waiting for him to make a good move that everyone says, and I don't think this is possible because Democrats and Republicans don't like each other. But I think if he just do something solid,
mhm.
to divert our attention away from all these distractions. Put together a good tax plan, whether it's 999 or whatever it is. Just come up
You
with
said
something.
999.
You
You
know,
know
that's
what?
our pizza guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Herman Cain.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Makes a
foresee
lot of
him
dough.
being. I don't foresee him being able to do anything just because he's done so much. You can't sow all this ill will and bad stuff and then think that something good is going to come from it. He's creating enemies and building walls, not bridges, and about whoever he speaks to, except
I got to say he's ill-advised, man. I got to say that he is shooting from the hip, that he's going with his instinctive corporate America, instinct, and he's shooting from the hip, and he's got a bunch of yes men around him, which is his first mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And they're making bad decisions.
Yeah, but it's a lot of
understand the repercussions. But then we have time to find out if these decisions end up being, bad decisions. I know we don't like them now, but
I wonder what could come out to be a good decision. Putting on a climate accord.
I think we got 4 years to find out.
And that's what scares me. I'm glad that you see the glass as half full. I actually see it as being the cascading, ongoing cycle. And everything has a ripple effect. Nothing happens in a vacuum.
But I think the rest of the world understands that we are all holding our breath here in America. We're just waiting for this to be over, and we're just doing what we can to kind of soothe the sting. But we're all waiting. The world is waiting and watching, waiting for this guy to be gone. So whatever he does, I hope it just has a temporary effect, understanding that it's going to get better unless affect another Republican.
I hope you're right with that, Woody. I hope you're right with that. I'm not as optimistic about that, but I hope you're right. Just because, again,
that's all we have to lean
it's
on.
Not something that you can put on a shelf. It's not, okay, there's the stuff in regards to this Russian stuff. You can't put that on a shelf. What he's doing in regards to Syria, you can't put that on a shelf and wait 4 years because everything is constantly moving. There's always moving pieces and moving wheels. There's always other circumstances. It may not be something that we're directly involved with, but because of the positions we've taken, Party B and Party C can go at each other and say, well, America can't do anything now. And so it's always something that's going on. And the fact that he is in a constant state of chaos.
Well, I think there's some room for people to pull their countries up by their own bootstraps, too. I think there's some room for that, for them to reflect within and say, listen, we're going to have to do better to support our country because America is not backing us.
And that's what I say is dangerous in some
and respect. It can be in some respects.
It can be dangerous.
But in others, it might work out for the better.
I think it's more dangerous than working out for the better. And the reason why I think that, well, basically I know it because of the rules of economics. The rules of economics have proven over time that countries that come inward. Look at Haiti. Haiti's a perfect example. Haiti was formed by freed slaves, and no one wanted to trade with Haiti, so they had to go internal and do stuff just within their country.
I don't think.
And look at,
were they freed or did they? Escape?
Basically, they fought for their uprising.
Yeah.
But the point is that internal economies don't usually work in a ever growing connected world through the internet, through the World Wide Web, through commerce and stuff. Countries that look inward, they have to look inward totally, and when that happens, typically history proves us that doesn't turn out to be good. But listen, guys, we're out of time now.
Let's
so
focus on America.
Thank you.
Rebuilding.
Yeah, you sound like Trump. Let's reconvene this meeting and this conversation again next week. And next week, we're going to have time to take some callers as well. So thank you so much for starting your weekend with us. We really appreciate you. And tune in again next week for another edition of
Have
Focus
a great
with
weekend,
Ron Frierson.
Folks.
Peace.
Love and happiness.